I think we've all heard the phrase, knowledge is power. Well, we now know that we do what we want to do. We might say, I want to do something else, and on some level, I want to do something else. I want to do what's right, but I end up doing what's wrong because on another level, I wanted that. We learned that from Herod, and it does fit even with what Paul says in Romans. Okay, what power does that give us then? What can we gain from that knowledge? And you've heard me say over and over, talk about our mind, our heart, and our will, those growth spheres. And our mind is what we believe and know and understand. Our heart is what we want, what we're committed to. And our will is what we actually do. Well, we know now that what we want may not be what we want deep down. And it makes you wonder, what's the reason for that confusion? And on some level, you could say, well, I've never been taught that. And so, what's the reason for that? But even then, why aren't I aware of this? Why didn't it just automatically, oh, I'm doing this thing, I want to please God, but I'm doing this, oh, I must be doing what I don't want to do, doing what I do instead of what I don't want to do. See, I'm getting confused here, not for the same reason I'm about to point out. The Bible makes it clear why our thinking isn't always clear, why we don't understand. I cited Ephesians 4 in the last video, 4:22. Paul talks about, in reference to your former manner of life, you're to lay aside the old self, which is being corrupted in accordance with the lust of deceit. It can be deceitful lust. It's that idea there's something I want, and it's not just, oh, I want it and I know it's wrong. I want it and I know it contradicts God. I want it and I know this is what I truly want. No, it deceives me in some way to rationalize, to justify whatever it is. Hebrews 3:13. It says, but exhort one another every day, as long as it is called today, that none of you may be hardened by the deceitfulness of sin. There's that idea again that I can just not realize that sin doesn't just come at me full frontal and say it's wrong and there's no justification for it at all. I might not know it's wrong, I might not think it's wrong, I might think it's wrong, but hey, here's why it's okay. All of this stuff. And the last reason, what's behind sin is Satan. And Jesus says in John 8, Satan does not stand in the truth because there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks out of his own character, for he is a liar and the father of lies. So we need to realize, and I've said it before, sin's primary effect in us is on our thinking. It's on our understanding, because that is where the process starts, our mind, our heart, our will. And so if Satan can deceive us there, it makes it so easy. We head down a path and don't even know we're on the wrong path. That's what his, real goal is, just to get us on the wrong path, not even be aware of it. And one thing we also have to realize that verse in Ephesians points out, it talks about our old self is being corrupted in accordance with the lust of deceit. So it's not like I can just check it off and say, okay, I'm done now. I learned this. I understand. It says, no, Satan will just keep coming at us in some other way, some other form, some other type of deceit to get us to not realize I'm, working hard at the wrong thing. I'm traveling down the wrong path. So not just even to do wrong, but to be deceived in the doing of that. I tell you, I said that, God providentially, as I was looking at this passage about Herod, I had someone question, you're on a diet, but you're eating ice cream. How do those go together? Well, God providentially let me see something else on the spiritual side. It had to do with my wife and I, and an area of conflict that I want one thing, she wanted the other, and it just I get upset, and I told God, please take away my desire for what I want that we're not agreeing on. Take it away. I don't even want it because I don't want to be angry like this. And God didn't do that. And I, don't know if he never does that, but in this case, he definitely I don't want to just take it away. I want you to understand what the problem is. And in conjunction with this, the Herod passage and, the ice cream and the diet thing, I realized, I want to love my wife. I want to serve her, sacrifice for her, but I wanted something else more. This, thing we're disagreeing on, I wanted something else more. And it struck me and it really came home, and really, it's, part of us, this deception of sin was, I want to serve my wife, but she should agree with me on this. And so then we'd all be happy. I'd be serving her and she'd be doing what I want. There's that deceit of sin. But as I dug down, as I looked at it, as in Ephesians, as I tried to renew my mind, take a step back and examine, I saw, okay, I wanted something even more. Or my want what I said I wanted for her wasn't pure. And so it helped me in that situation. It's helped me since. This has been really eye-opening. And so I hope it helps you as well, to renew your mind about this mind, heart, and will thing, about what I truly want, why I choose the things I do at times. And then there was one other thing, and this came out of the Herod passage, to help us live this out, to help us maybe motivate us to take the time to examine and be honest in that examination. And that's to realize that there's a cost either way. When I'm faced with two things that I want, and I really know one of them's better on some hand, certainly if I've chosen, I'm committed to God, I know that's what I should do. But part of me wants to do this, and so there's a cost to not doing it. Well, there's a cost either way. Herod, there was a cost for him, first of all, to not put John to death. His wife wanted John put to death. And, even for someone who's sort of a king, happy wife, happy life has to apply, right? But he was willing to pay the cost of his wife not being happy to keep John safe. But then he wasn't willing to pay the cost to break his oath in front of all those people he made when Herodias' daughter said, I want John the Baptist's head. Well, there was a cost then to be paid, and not just I want John to live on, so I sort of wanted him to, but it tells us in Mark chapter 6, verse 26, the king was exceedingly sorry. Exceedingly sorry, but because of his oaths and his guests, he did not want to break his word to her. So, what he wanted was even more to not break his oaths, but it had a cost for him. And the word exceedingly sorry, it's the same word that's used of Jesus when he goes to pray in the garden, and he brings the three and he says, hey, I'm going to go ahead and pray. And he tells them, my soul is very sorrowful, even unto death. We know how sorrowful Jesus was at that moment as he knows the cross is coming. That's the same word used of Herod. There was a cost, and there always will be. There would be a cost for me to, if I had just given up what I wanted right away when my wife and I are disagreeing, like, okay, I'll surrender, I'll give up, there'd be a cost. There's a cost when I don't. And, and that anger and what it did to our relationship, realize there will be a cost if I don't do what, if I don't follow through on this general idea of being committed to God and living for Him because there's something I want in some way that's trumping that at the moment. Well, if I don't follow through on God, because I see the cost of, giving up what I want really deeply, there'll be a cost to doing that thing I want really deeply. So it should motivate us. Let me find out what it is I want deeply, why it is I keep, especially if I'm struggling with the sin, because there's a cost to that too in our relationship with God. We're not experiencing it in the fullness that we could. So again, I hope this has been beneficial. It's been one of the biggest eye-openers for me of late to realize that even though my heart wants something, if I struggle with a sin, there's something else. I want more, that old part of me, that old self, that flesh nature, and that's what I'm choosing at that moment. So if I can deal with that, get to the point that renew my mind so I don't want that more, well, then my will won't choose that because I don't want it more anymore. I'm always choosing what I want most, and that won't be it anymore. So as always, please follow through with these action steps. I'm going to really dig in deep to try to help us all apply these, myself included, and I'd encourage you, tag 2 people who you think would benefit from this. Thanks.